Shalom Akim, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakadas Barakatam. All praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakadas. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, the one teach well, we taught us his truth. This is your brother Yashima from the GMS Atlanta camp. And today's topic of the video is going to be our time to mourn is coming to a close, and the translation of the kingdom is coming to a fixed point. Okay, so now what we have here is we have this picture that from a scene that happened yesterday in the White House. Now here in America, Babylon, Egypt, Assyria, here in the land of our captivity, the final land of our captivity, they were holding a press conference yesterday in which Donald Trump was once again giving more billions to another pharmaceutical company. All right, which is a slap in the face for a lot of the blue collar workers here, because a lot of you got laid off because you didn't take, these pharmaceuticals, man. And so what does Trump do? He turns around and gives them more money. The same guy that these Republicans thought cares about them, it is shown through this picture that he does not give a shit about you. All right, because how can we prove this? And we're going to get some scriptures, but so please excuse the somewhat long introduction. So, how can we prove that Donald Trump, Esau Edom, doesn't give a F about anybody but himself? Well, this picture speaks for itself. Now, for you people, for you blue collar people that think that a billionaire really cares about you, look at what this man is doing. All right, he's standing up, prideful, and what's going on behind him? A man has collapsed. I believe this is the CEO of that drug, Ozempic. I may be mistaken, but he was one of those involved in that deal making where now they're going to make Ozempic affordable. But the point here is this: is as his own people, a fellow billionaire, is collapsed and possibly, going into the spirit world. This man just stands there and watches, does nothing, helplessness. And this is the state of Babylon. Okay. How can you sit there? How can these Republicans, how can our people think that a man who sits there and watches his fellow billionaire pass out and go into the spirit world and do nothing? How can you then turn around and still have the thought that he gives a shit about you? All right. It just doesn't make sense. So let's go back to the topic of the video. This is Ecclesiastes 3. And let's start at 1 and then we'll jump to 4. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Okay. So what's this talking about? It's talking about Yahweh Shemi Shai works in balances. Okay. It says to every purpose under the heaven. Well, this is reminiscent of I saw under the sun the place of judgment. What's it going into? It's going into the earth. So there's a season for everything that happened in earth, and we understand that our season. Well, let's go to and get the scripture, and then we'll get into it. It says a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. So what's this going into? Uh, the Most High made this world for the sake of Israel. All right, so these scriptures specifically apply to the so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics. So who has been weeping? All right, well, it's the Israelites. All right, because here it is in this picture, you have a kingdom falling. This is a perfect picture of the state of Babylon. It's done. It's completely fallen, and all they're trying to do is keep up the facade. That's all this is. So that's what the topic of this video is. It's going into those that have been mourning is those that are going to be turned into happiness. Well, who's mourning right now? All right. Well, the only ones mourning are the elect. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and get that. Ezekiel 9, verse 4. Brothers know where I'm going. Ezekiel 9, verse 4 says, and Yahweh Shem Shai said unto him, go through the midst of the city through the midst of Yerushalayim. Okay, so Yahweh Shem Yahushua is only dealing with the Israelites, because he's not talking about go through, he didn't say go through the entire land. No, he specifically said go through a certain group of people and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst thereof. And so that today, that is us, because we are the ones that are in mourning. Why are we in mourning? Because we look at the state of Yasharala. Yeah, I was going to say our people, but we understand that 2/3 of our people just have to go through it. So we look at the state of Yasharala because again, what does the scripture say? Not all Israel is Israel. So we are in the state of mourning. And so those that are in the state of mourning, the scripture says that they shall go into a place for joy. All right, because what's that joy coming into? Well, let's go ahead and go from here. What's going to bring us joy? Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, and this is part of the mourning, because you can't just be sad and continue to be a demon. You can't do that. You know, you can't come into this truth and say that you're mourning by putting out a video, going into Esau Edom, but you're still stuck in the ways of this world. You can't do that. But so it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep you from the hour of temptation. Salakia. 13:10. Salakia, brother. Salakia. What's going on here, Salakia? Revelation 13:10. This is going into the joy. This is the joy that awaits those that mourn. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. This is the joy that we are waiting for, man. All right. And even Yahweh Shai himself spoke about this. I got that queued up here. Let's get, yeah, right here. Matthew 5:4. It says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. And so, from a Christian perspective, they'll pick this scripture up and think, oh, this is just a very basic scripture that is talking about, once you come to white Jesus, if you're sad, you will somehow, just be happy. That's not what this is going to. Because what Yahweh Shai quoting here? We'll get it. The brothers will have to be patient. This is an in-transit video. But it should be Isaiah 41, somewhere around the 40th. It says, speak ye. Yeah, no, this is not. Behold, my heart, and from my pride, believe the Lord. But now says he that's formed thee. Salakia, brothers, I will pour water. Salakia, 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 for water for the patience. And was made and sent unto them, people that go divorce, going to the work of the to where is this at? The life, man. Last, where we at? There you go. Salakia, there 61. Salakia for that. So yeah, I was shy when we just read it in Matthew 5. He was talking about blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Well, what was the book that Yahushua was consistently quoting? It was Isaiah. And this is what he was going into. The spirit of, this is Isaiah 61 and in verse 1 says, the spirit of the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, is upon me, because the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, has anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh Shemel Shai and the day of vengeance. Okay, so again, that vengeance goes back into that joy, which was mentioned in Revelations 13:10. It says, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. All right, there is a time to mourn for the Israelites, which was the land of our, which was the state of our captivity. But those Israelites, like it says Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. This is what Matthew 5 was going into. This is what Ecclesiastes 3 is going into. Those that have been placed under the thumb of Esau, Edom, those that are mourning, because the scripture says that we shall be saved in the order of our works, right? So the elect is going to be saved from the second death, which is a thermonuclear destruction, but eventually all of Israel shall be saved. But the point here that we're going into is that as this place falls and they try to keep up the facade, we're out of here. And this place has to fall. And only those that are sighing and crying are going to make it through. Okay? While while 2/3 of our people continue to try to pray for this place and try to, keep this captivity up, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is doing the work. Okay? This is Sirach 10:4 says the power of the earth is in the hand of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. Here again we go, turning that mourning into joy. Okay? Matter of fact, from here, I wanted to, and we're going to come back to here. Matter of fact, from here though, I want to get Psalms 2. Let's get Psalms 2. Bum. And again, the water for the patience. All right. It says, I will declare the decree. The Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua has said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. So we know that this is Yahweh talking to Yahweh Shai. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. See, so this lines up beautifully with Sirach 10:4, because yes, though this is Yahweh speaking to Yahweh Shai, we are also heirs to the throne. All right. We are joint heirs to what Yahweh Shai gets. Okay. And so the translating of the kingdom, see, whenever we mention it, people trip out. Oh no, uh, uh, that's not biblical. Yes, it actually is. It's right here. It says, I shall give it says, ask of me and I shall give ask of me and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So yes, this is that mourning going in, turning into that joy. Now let's go back here. So Rock 10, all right, because there's more to it. It says, because verse 8, it says, because of unrighteous dealings, injury, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right. And that's what Second Ezra 6 and 9 is going into. Is Yahweh Hashem Yahushai translating the kingdom from Esau Edom to Jacob, starting with Yahweh Shai. Okay. So this has always been the plan. And so when, instances like this happen at the White House, it's of no surprise. We just laugh at it because we know what the scriptures say. We know what has to happen. Okay. Now, I want to go from here. Uh, I believe it's in Jeremiah 51. If not, it's in Revelation. But we'll see. Uh, uh, the scripture I'm looking for is we would have healed Babylon. Uh, 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 Babylon is yeah, you go right. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so, she may be healed. Okay, so there is, this is a prophetic speaking. Doesn't the scripture say that the Most High speaks to things that have not been as though they were? Doesn't the book of Second Ezra say that judgment is sent? That who can return the bow from him that has already shot it? That's a rough paraphrase, meaning that what the Most High has already decreed is going to happen. Babylon has been destroyed because the Most High speaks through prophetic terms into things that haven't happened yet. Babylon has already fallen. We're just playing the role. I know I mentioned this in the last video, a couple videos back I did, but just as King Saul was anointed king, it took 2 chapters for the people to finally accept him. Same thing with King David. King David was anointed king, but he didn't go into the throne for many years. That is the state that we are in right now. We are playing out the role of our captivity. This place is already done. We just have to go through the motions. We already have the victory. But the reason that I bring this up is because um, is going into the destruction. But, a Christian might come across this scripture and say, oh, well, look, we got to pray for America. It says pray for Babylon. That's not what this is going into because Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is not dealing with anybody. All right. What does Psalms 147, 19 and 20 say? They have not known his judgments or his commands. All right. He's not dealing with them. Amos 3 and 2, out of all the other families, I have not known any but Israel. Joel 2 and 27 goes into that. So, what does the scripture say when it says, pray for Babylon? We would have healed her, but she would not turn away. Well, Yahweh spoke in the same context here. I'm going to bring it up here. Let me see. It says, "O Jerusalem, that slays the prophets, how I would have gathered." And this is an in-transit message. So I get for the spelling. Matthew 23 and 37. Okay. This is Yahweh speaking on here. If it loads. Says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, and ye would not." So uh, this is this is the same context spoken about in Jeremiah 50 when it says, "Pray for Babylon." The Most High is not praying for. The Most High is not asking us to pray for something He's going to destroy. That would be going against his will. Romans 12 goes into it. What the Most High is talking about, what the scripture is talking about there, it is talking about pray for Jerusalem. All right, because the scripture says that he would gather us from among the heathen, out of the heathen which should be gathered. All right, and Babylon is the final place of our captivity. So when he says pray for Babylon, it's talking about praying for the elect, so that the elect souls can wake up. Ephesians 1 and 4 tells us that there are only a certain group of people that are to be saved. So while this place is going down, we're not praying for this place, but we're praying for the elect. All right. But then shall we say Israel has not obtained it, but the elect have obtained that which they seek for, right? That's what I paraphrase. So look, as this place continues to fall, man, we're not called to pray for it. We're not surprised by it. That this picture reminds us, Esau, there is no hope here. There is no hope or salvation from any other man. Our hope and salvation is from Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This man has been the leading force of our captivity. He has furthered the affliction. That's what the scripture says. And he does not care for his own. And does not the scripture say, he that is not good to himself, how can he be good to another? He doesn't even care about his fellow Edomites, whom he's making underhanded deals with. He's not dealing. He's not losing any sleep about us not being able to afford our our food. To the contrary, judges will pass a ruling telling them, "Hey, you got to feed families," and this dude defies it. He would rather go to court and argue that he doesn't have to feed his own citizens. But yet, our people still want this place to continue, man. That's why Zechariah 13, verse 8 says 2/3 of our own people got to go, man. Because while we're chanting this place down, while we're pushing, these people are pulling, man. It's a complete opposite. And those two forces can't stand. But Yahweh Hashem Yahshua shall prevail. Until the next one. Shalom.